Greetings, everyone. We are excited to welcome you all to the Reimagine Innovation Session, MSC, Experts in Reefer Cargo Transportation. My name is Stacy, Meetings Manager, United Fresh Produce Association. Before we kick things off, I just want to remind you all of a few session logistics. As you can see, we are all in Zoom meeting. You all have the ability to turn on and off your cameras, as well as mute and unmute yourselves. During the presentation, please turn on your cameras so we can see your faces, but stay on mute so we do not receive background noise. We welcome questions throughout the presentation. Please type them into the chat box below and we will make sure to ask them throughout. Lastly, this session is being recorded and we will send out the recording in the near future. Now, we want to thank MSC, Mediterranean Shipping Company, for providing content for this session. MSC is a global leader in transportation and logistics. Privately owned and founded in 1970 by Gianluigi Aponte, the company is one of the world's leading container shipping lines and operates 524 offices across 155 countries worldwide with over 70,000 employees. MSC's fleet of 570 vessels sail on more than 250 trade routes, calling at over 500 ports. Its cargo division also includes Medlog, its logistics arm with a network of inland logistics platforms, warehouses, trucks, locomotives, barges, and terminal investments, one of the largest and most geographically diverse terminal investor operators spanning 5 continents. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker, Pietro Pinto. Pietro serves as Nationwide Reefer Sales Director at MSC USA, based in Chicago. Pietro began his successful career with MSC USA in 2003 as part of the Export Documentation Department in the New York office. He progressively earned positions that would give him greater responsibility and expertise, leading him to become Line Manager Reefer Services first, and then Line Manager Relay, responsible for the Black Sea, Eastern Mediterranean, as well as North, East, and West Africa. In 2014, Pietro joined the sales department as Director of Global Accounts and went on to become the Nationwide Reefer Sales Director the following year. Pietro, the floor is yours.
Stacy, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. First of all, while I'm trying to share my screen here with you, I would like to say thank you to you and to your team for the great support. Thank you for United Fresh for having us. And I would also like to say thank you very much to our marketing team in New York for the great help and support that they're given to me to be here today. I hope you guys can see my presentation. I have about 30 slides that I'm going to present to you today. I'm going to first start talking a little bit about the Mediterranean Shipping Company. We're then going to touch bases on the reefer market and the current challenges that we are facing. And then we're going to start discussing, or I'm going to start talking a little bit more about our refrigerated fleet and the various technologies that we are offering to move perishable commodity. First of all, don't worry, I'm not going to talk more about myself. You guys heard more than enough, but I would like to share my email address with everybody that might not have it yet. At the bottom left, pietro.pinto@msc.com. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, any concerns that we are not touching today, or any other topics that you would like to discuss offline. We're going to start by talking a little bit about MSC. The MSC group is very large. I strongly suggest for everybody to go on our homepage at msc.com to find out more about the various divisions that we have. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our cargo division. Here on the slide, you have a few numbers that illustrate the size of the company. Just to go on depth on a few pointers, our cargo division continues to grow in both terms of fleet and the amount of TUs that we can carry. Our goal this year is to move over 21.5 million TUs, that is reefers and dry combined. Our total intake capacity is more than 3.8 million TUs. This is a number that we need to keep an eye on as it will continue to grow. MSC is making a lot of investments and shortly we will surpass the 4 million. Currently, we are ranked as the #2 steamship line in the world. MSC is present in all major trade lanes, either as MSC or via our 2M operation alliance with Maersk Line. We link all major continents together, but we also play a crucial role in the intra-regional trades. As you can see, we have over 500 offices located all over the world. For us, it's very important to have a human presence. We put a lot of emphasis on people. We believe it's very important to be able to combine our global service network coverage with local understanding and expertise. This slide here is just to give you a little bit of a view, perspective on the growth of the company in the past 20 plus years. On the left, you see the size of the fleet that has been growing significantly, and on the right, the amount of TEUs that we can carry. Quite impressive, the growth of the company. Even more impressive if you take into consideration that the growth has been organic and through no acquisitions. As we continue to grow our fleet to match the demand, we are also investing in trying to become more energy efficient. We are doing so by investing in larger vessels. When it comes to the United States, our relationship started in 1985. We had one service from Europe calling the East Coast. Over the past 36 years, we have grown our footprint quite significantly. As you can see from the slide, we have 9 strategic offices strategically located all over the country. We call on 28 different terminals, have 35 weekly services that connect to more than 200 different global routes, offer service on more than 75 rail rams, and our goal this year is to move over 5 million TEUs out of the United States. Now, before we proceed to the next slide, there is a polling question that we would like to ask you. We would like to take your time to quickly answer.
Wonderful. If everyone can submit their answers, they are coming in quickly. We'll give this about another 30 seconds or so. All right, and we're going to end this polling. And go ahead, Pietro, back to you.
Thank you so much. So the next chapter we're going to discuss is we're going to look a little bit at the market. There is a lot of things to discuss on the market, but we have limited on time, so we're going to touch on specific pointers. First of all, as you can see, the source here from Drewry shows that the reefer cargo is planned to grow at 3.7% annually, which is quite significant. In fact, Drewry forecasts for the reefer traffic to reach 156 million tons by 2024. Furthermore, Drewry also forecasts that by 2025, it is expected that more than 90% of all refrigerated trade will be carried by container lines or dedicated reefer services. Of course, this is great news for the shipping lines with great demand, but with great news, there also come a lot of different challenges. One of the challenges that we are currently facing today is the massive shortage of reefer equipment that we are having. One thing that the pandemic clearly brought to light at the beginning of 2020, when we had a significant upheave in reefer demand, we have seen a lot of reefer equipment being stuck or caught up in various port distribution, warehouses, and other bottlenecks. This obviously made the availability of reefers worse, and it was further added by the stoppage of reefer manufacturing. As many industries, the pandemic also had an effect on the reefer manufacturing, which were stopped for quite some time. And again, it added more challenges on our equipment availability. If you guys don't mind now, we would like to see the results of the first poll. 156, wow, very good. 52%. We also have another question for you.
All right, and we're going to give folks a few seconds here to answer this question. Give it about 30 more seconds here. All right, and we're going to end this poll. Pietro, back to you.
Thank you. So another thing that we need to take clearly in consideration and keep our eyes open is the variety of commodities that are being requested for world demand. One of the things that we are noticing and we're keeping an eye open for it is the various changes of diets that many countries are starting to adopt. We have noticed that a lot of different countries and cultures are trying to eat more healthier fruit that have a high intensity of vitamins or minerals, which usually are found in commodities such as fruits or vegetables. As you can see here from the stats, fruits is by far the largest commodity being moved from a perishable commodity with 70.7 million tons in 2018, followed by vegetables at 31.8 million tons. Furthermore, there is a few more challenges that are illustrated here that I would like to touch base on. First, as we see, the majority of the food is sourced in the southern hemisphere, but is majorly traded in the northern, which again signifies that a lot of refrigerated cargo is one-way directed, again, which adds to the stress of the current equipment availability. Lastly, if you look at the two graphs at the bottom, or the two pictures, I should better say, on the left, you see a figure with all the main fruit exporting countries, and on the right, you see a lot of main countries exporting vegetables. One thing that we need to keep into consideration, what the slide doesn't show, is the seasonality. Seasonalities obviously have an effect as well on how they run and how much equipment they need. One thing that we ask our customers consistently is forecast. We know it's difficult, it's not easy, especially when you're dealing with perishable commodities, but we want to have an idea. And once we have an idea from our customers, we obviously continue to meet with them regularly, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever is needed in order to make adjustments accordingly. As we know, seasons, especially when dealing with Mother Nature, it's not always the easiest to do, as it is extremely unpredictable. Before we go to the next slide, if we could kindly see the results of this poll. Fruit, 62% of you guys answered correctly. Very nice. So now we're going to be moving to the next subject. We're going to talk a little bit more about Mediterranean Shipping Company. Now, there is a variety of reasons why you should trust your cargo with us. There is a few pointers that we're going to be touching on today. First of all is we have a dedicated reefer desk. As we were saying before, people are very important to us. We have a lot of offices. So this reefer desk, this vertical, is combined of more than 1,000 reefer experts. These reefer experts are learning day to day and being trained day to day by us through the experience that we acquire in moving a lot of different perishable or frozen commodities. MSC today is moving a lot of fruits, vegetables, variety of proteins, dairy products, and pharmaceuticals. Furthermore, we also acquire a lot of information and intelligence from our customers and from third parties, where we are attending various lectures and learn more about the technologies that are being continuously improved in our industry. We offer a great global coverage, as we were mentioning before. On top of that, we have also made a lot of investments concerning our intermodal transportation. We can offer services today via barge, rail, or truck, which enable us to offer great door-to-door service and offer tailor-made solutions to our customers. We perform regular and frequent monitoring of our shipments from the moment we receive the cargo to the moment we deliver the goods, and we have availability 24/7 for greater agility and speedy responses to our customers. Now, we have a video for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so that we can show you the video. As we get ready for that, one thing that I wanted to share as well about MSC is passion. We have a lot of passion in our industry, and that is fed down to us, not only by the owners of the company, but also by a lot of our managements in our headquarters in Geneva and New York. We care very, very much. This is a privately owned company. We put a lot of heart and emphasis in doing our job and continuously to grow. And I believe it is worth mentioning because without passion, with passion, things are much easier done. So if we can see the video now, we'd highly appreciate it.
MSC is a world leader in fresh produce transport, such as fruit, vegetables, anything that need to be cooled. And being the leader in this sector, we have to give to the customer the best service as possible.
To work with the fruits and the vegetable customer is simply amazing. There are a lot of different varieties of products, and it is amazing to discover what is behind them. Each product, each fruits and vegetable has its own history.
We operate in 500 ports, we serve 200 routes, we have 520 vessels. MSC takes fresh fruits like melons, grapes, mangoes, and citrus from anywhere to worldwide destinations.
We invest in all intermodal solutions like trucks, rails, barges, and all of them we equip with a solution able to supply energy to the reefers at any time.
In a dynamic market that continuously changes, we have to bet on ourselves with a spirit of doing it better every day and to quickly adapt to the change.
The challenge is that the shelf life of many of these fruit is very short, and they are really perishable fruit, very sensitive to cold damage or to high level of oxygen. That's why we need control atmosphere technology. This helps to extend the shelf life of the fruit and vegetables to let the customer the opportunity to ship their produce to longer distances.
If an avocados from Peru or the blueberries from Chile needs to be shipped in a controlled atmosphere container, our task is to make sure that that kind of technology will be available in that place at the right time.
Delivering the goods with the same appearance, same taste, and same quality as when they were harvested is one key element. So we offer more than just space on our ships. We offer tailor-made solutions.
The close relationship with our customers allow us to anticipate their needs and to provide, beside our traditional services, innovative solutions to support them to better compete on their markets.
We are organizing special events that we call Reefer Masterclass. And these are workshops that we organize between all key persons in the reefer sector.
This continuous exchange of information and expertise between us and them added an enormous value to our relations.
Our customers are used to always talk with the same persons who know their requirements, who know the level of care that they need. They know that we treat their fruits and their vegetables as ours.
It happened very often when I go to supermarket. I used to read the provenance of the fruit, and I think this is incredible. Probably this avocado crossed the ocean on a MSC container, and I feel part of this amazing distribution chain.
To describe what MSC does for our customers, I would say P for passion, the passion that we put on our daily job. P for people, because for us people makes the difference, and P for possible. On daily basis we try to make it possible thanks to our knowledge, our dedication and our flexibility.
Thank you very much. Just give me a quick second here. And there we go. Thank you very much for giving me a second here. In the MSC world, we move a lot of refrigerated cargo. Therefore, we operate also one of the largest refrigerated and most advanced refrigerated container fleet. Just to give you an idea, in 2020, we moved 1.9 million reefer units worldwide, which topped off the 1.8 we moved in 2019. Needless to say that for 2020, the goal is to move over 2 million and continuously grow. As the demand keeps increasing for more containers and for better technology, obviously we continue to make investments. Considering, as I was mentioning before, 2020, there was a slowdown or a shutdown in the refrigerated manufacturing, MSC was still able to continuously buy and increase their fleet. It's worth mentioning that in 2020, we were also able to buy an additional 15,000 Star Cool units. These are specific units specifically for the movement or the shipment of perishable commodities. Another big investment that we are doing consistently is on our vessels. The latest class ship or vessels that we released is the Gulson class. These are the 23,000 TEU vessels. Thanks to the advanced technology and the design of the ships, these vessels are able to carry an additional 2,000 reefer units than the previous class. So this again shows the dedication and the investments that the company is doing in our fleet. In regards to the reefer units, as you can see on the slide, the temperature settings are becoming wider and wider range. Obviously, that's the key goal or the key task of the unit itself. We move the reefers, or we move the commodity at the temperatures that our customers requires, which usually is at the lowest level before the cargo incurs any damage. All the units have ability for humidity settings. This is important as we want to make sure they have optimum conditions during transportation. By being able to set the right humidity, you can avoid cargo shriveling or extensive water loss during the voyage. And of course, ventilation. The ventilation system is extremely important, especially when you're moving perishable commodity. As perishable commodity is commodity that is alive, it breathes. And as it breathes, like a human being, we breathe oxygen, we release carbon monoxide and different gases that is extremely important, that are being kept in check and cleaned accordingly. Having a big fleet also requires for us to make sure that we maintain the fleet accordingly. As you can see from the picture, there's a lot of maintenance and repairs that we are doing. Of course, these reefer units are equipped with an integrated microprocessor. We want to make sure that the processor is working properly, so that's being checked. We also know that all our reefer units are equipped with CFC-free insulation, so we want to make sure that there is no structural damage that can have an effect on the integrity. And last but not least, as you can see on the top right picture, we also clean the containers before we release them to our customers. This set of checks that we do is what we refer to as the pre-tripping inspection. Again, every container that is released to the customer has to go to a pre-tripping inspection first. We were making a lot of investments in the intermodal moves. We were making a lot of investments in the intermodal moves. We have certainly improved our inland transportation modes. We offer services now via barge, rail, and truck to be able to offer port-to-port services, or as I was saying before, tailor-made solutions for our customers. One thing that it's important to know, whenever a container is traveling on the road or outside of the terminal, we equip it with a genset to make sure that it gets the energy needed in order to run when it is outside of the terminal. The genset is a diesel generator that is mounted on the nose of the reefer unit. Once the unit returns, the genset is removed, inspected, and made sure it's ready for the next shipment, while the container is being plugged in on ground power, and once it's on board the ship, is obviously plugged in on board the ship. All our reefers are fitted with a software program that displays specific alarm codes in case there is a malfunction. Of course, an engineer on board the ship will immediately be notified of the problem on the reefer, and he or she will attend the reefer and make sure that we perform all kinds of repairs so that the reefer unit can continue to run properly. Needless to say that on board the ship, we have a variety of different replacement parts that we can use for all kinds of repairs. Once the cargo arrives at final destination, depending where the cargo arrives, we can obviously offer also there door-to-door solutions, as well as cold storage or warehousing solutions. And we can also help where there is a need with customs clearances. Now, before we move to the next slide, there is another polling question.
All right, here we go. We'll give this about a minute and have everybody answer. Give this another few seconds. Folks are submitting their answers pretty quickly here. All right, back to you.
Thank you so much. Now, when loading perishable or frozen cargo inside a container, there's a few things that we need to take into consideration. First of all, this is obviously a commodity that is alive, so we expect for it to be taken care of from the moment it is collected in the fields to the moment it travels through various warehouses and packaging divisions. Most important for us is to make sure that the cargo is pre-cooled before it's loaded within a reefer unit. The reefer unit are built and designed to maintain a certain set of temperature. They're not designed to cool down the cargo. First and foremost, also another important thing to take into consideration is when loading the cargo into the refrigerated unit. If the facility is not air conditioned, we strongly recommend for the unit to be shut off. As you can see for the picture here at the bottom left, there is a lot of, if the unit is running, there is a big chance that hot, humid air will enter the unit and the cold air will escape. As I was mentioning before, the ventilation system of these units is extremely strong. So better off turning it off to avoid this hot air, humid air entering the reefer unit. One thing that we want to avoid is condensation. Condensation can have different consequences, such as wet goods and frost, which can damage not only the cargo, but also the unit. On the right side, before we move to the next slide, you can see a picture of a container loaded with cargo and with a lot of yellow arrows. The yellow arrows represents the flow of the air within the unit. As you can see, it flows around and also through the cargo. Here is a magnified picture. Yeah, as you can see, again, the yellow arrows represent the airflow. And as you can see, it flows through the various packages. These packages here, as you have noticed, they have holes. Usually this is the packaging type used when we move perishable commodity. Again, perishable commodity breathes. So it's important it gets ventilated during the voyage, again, to remove whatever heat or various other gases are being released. Another magnified picture here, you can see a picture of the T floor. You can see the various openings. This is obviously constructed, engineered like this for the air to flow around and through the floor. One thing that I would like for everybody to pay attention is here at the bottom right. As you can see, this cargo is palletized, but at the end, the pallets are being covered with dunnage, the holes, and this little part of the T floor here is also being covered. One thing that we want to do when loading refrigerated units, if you don't have enough cargo to cover the entire floor, we want to make sure that we prevent for the air to take the shortest route. So one thing that we encourage is to use fillers or dunnage to cover the vacant areas. This can also be used to cover the central panel between pallets where there is empty space. By following this guidance, you can ensure that the air within the reefer containers doesn't circulate past the cargo rather than your desired route, which is through the goods. There are two more important rules to keep in mind when loading a reefer unit. First, as you can see on the right picture here, indicated by the blue arrows, there is a red line which indicates the height that you can load within a reefer unit. It's extremely important, as you can see in the picture in the middle, that you leave a little space for air movement. Another very important factor is to make sure that all the cartons that are loaded on the last row are secured and will not open. Again, the ventilation is very strong within the unit, so if they're not secured properly, it can open and it can be disrupt the airflow. And another limitation that we need to take into consideration is at the end of the T floor. Again, here, you want to leave a little bit of space between the last row and the door for the air to circulate. On this slide here, I can further explain, or we will further illustrate what I was saying. As you see here, these are various units loaded from a bird's eye view. In blue, you have the machinery, the compressor of the unit, and in yellow represents the filler. As you can see here, filler has been used to cover some of the floor, or in this picture here, Again, the yellow filler has been used here, but also there are pockets of openings in between the cartons that are also being filled with dunnage. Or as we were saying before, in between the pallets, if there is a space, you want to fill with tonnage accordingly as well, again, to make sure that the air flows through the cargo and not around it. On the right, you can also see a simulation of what happens if the T-floor is not covered properly. You can see that the air, in this example where the cargo is loaded in the middle, T-floor is not covered, the air circulates in front, never reaches the back. This creates an instability, and obviously the cargo is not cooled properly. And same thing here, if you leave spaces in between and you don't fill the floor, again, cargo or the air will escape and the cargo will not be cooled properly. One thing that we notice in this picture, unlike the others, the cartons are filled, they don't have any holes. This indicates that the cargo being moved here most likely is going to be frozen. As a general rule, pre-cooled frozen cargo only requires free-flowing air to circulate around the products, whereas chilled commodity, such as fresh fruits and vegetables, require for the air to circulate through the cargo. Before we move to the next slide, let's have a look at the pool results of the last questions. 92% answered correctly. All three. Thank you very much. Next subject we're going to be discussing and getting into a little bit more details is the controlled atmosphere. The controlled atmosphere is a great technology that enables us to ship a lot of perishable commodity to a longer distance and help keep the quality of the products fresh for a longer period of time. Here we have another video we want to show you. So as we get ready. Thank you very much. Let's go back to the presentation. Just a quick second. And here we go. So the next subject we're going to be discussing is controlled atmosphere. Controlled atmosphere comes in two different solutions. The first solution is we can either have an integrated system, which are provided by the StarCool containers that I was mentioning to you before, or Extend Fresh units, as well as we have third parties that can provide the CA treatment. The third parties are Liventus, MaxTense, and Pure Fresh. Needless to say that in order to have a controlled atmosphere, which we're going to go into more details in the next slides, we need to have special technicians that, as I was telling you before, we have a lot of people working for us. We have a lot of reefer specialists. So we have special technicians located all over the world. On top of that, we have a dedicated team in Antwerp that consistently monitors each operation of each unit. So if we look at the controlled atmosphere, there is a lot of information on this slide. What I would like for everybody to do, if you don't mind, is to concentrate here on the avocado in the center, bottom center of the slide. The avocado obviously represents the perishable commodity. As we were saying, the perishable commodity breathes. It breathes in oxygen. It releases ethylene, carbon dioxide, water, and heat. So what does the CA system do? Let's focus on oxygen, ethylene, and CO2 first. If you look at the third paragraph, it gives a good explanation. The controlled atmosphere system controls oxygen and carbon dioxide levels, and it removes ethylene. Why does it remove ethylene? It removes ethylene because ethylene is a hydrocarbon given off by ripening produce that will accelerate the ripening if left unchecked. So the system is capable of recognizing ethylene and remove it completely. It keeps oxygen and CO2 at the appropriate level for the commodity. You don't want to have too much CO2 in there. CO2 suffocates the cargo and removes colorization, so it doesn't make the cargo look very good, but you still want to keep a certain level of the different gases. Again, here, to further emphasize, if you look at the upper right picture, same example, the perishable cargo represented here by the avocado, breathes in oxygen, releases heat, CO2, water, and ethylene. Thanks to the ventilation system, properly loaded container, the cargo, the air will take all of these different releases of the perishable commodity, bring it to the unit where the technology, the controlled atmosphere technology, the scrubber or filter, if you want to call it, removes the ethylene, keeps O2 and CO2 at check. The unit then obviously cools the air from the heat released by the product. And as we were saying before, all of these units, they have the ability to control the humidity. So it helps avoid extensive water loss during the voyage. Thanks to this technology, we can have extended shelf life. It helps maintain quality and extended optimal conditions of the product. It improves quality and consistency at arrival, and it helps reach new further destination and markets for our customers. One very important point, the controlled atmosphere provides exporters an alternative to air freight, allowing them to ship via flexible and more cost-efficient ocean transportation. One last point I would like to make, if we are focusing on this part of the slide here, there are some perishable commodities that are considered or called low respiring commodities. What usually happens then, once the cargo is loaded and the container is closed, we inject some gases, nitrogen more often than none, and then the system or the CA system within the unit manages and makes sure we keep the right and controlled atmosphere. We have one question, we have another poll question.
All right, we'll give folks a minute here to answer. Give it a few more seconds. All right, back to you, Pietro.
Thank you so much. The next few slides, we have a bit of a summary, again, to emphasize the CA technology and variety of other things that we need to do to get the CA units ready. Here again, the technology. On the left, what we consider one-trip CA systems, Liventus, MaxTense, and Pure Fresh. We call them one trip simply because whenever the unit is loaded, one of the technicians, depending on which provider you choose from, comes to the loading facility, installs the scrubber or the technology. And once done, once the cargo arrives at destination, it is removed and used for another shipment. Whilst we have also the option of using the integrated technology, here again, you have the Extend Fresh units or the very famous StarCool containers. Few factors, this is to summarize the few factors that need to be taken into consideration to make sure that we have an effective controlled atmosphere. As I was saying before, it is extremely important that the cargo is handled properly from the moment it is collected in the fields We want to make sure it stays in optimum conditions while it goes through the various warehouses and packaging facilities to be kept at the proper temperature and adequate atmospheric compositions, as well as to keep the ethylene at check. One last and very important thing to take into consideration, or at least for everybody to know that we do and we pay attention to this as well, is the maturity of the product. Certain commodities are better off being shipped at the beginning of a season, others more towards the end. What we are trying to avoid is we want to avoid having tired fruit or tired commodity being shipped for extensive or longer voyages. Last slide, when it comes to the CA subject, we have an additional checklist that we are going through. As I said before, every unit is pre-tripped. In addition to that, before we release a container for CA shipments, we check the structural integrity. What we do is we check the container for our air leaks. What we do is we close the doors, we put the unit under pressure. There is a device here that measures the pressure of the unit. If the unit manages to keep the pressure, then of course, then that means no leaks, so we're good to go. If not, there is a leak, we'll find it and repair it. Furthermore, there are 4 drains in the reefer unit. We'll make sure that they are closed and sealed properly, as well as the vent. There is a vent. Every container has a vent in the front. We make sure that it is closed and sealed as well. Again, when you're talking about CA units, you want to make sure that the atmosphere inside is kept. So you want to control the airflow where it is coming from. Last but not least, there are tracks for the curtain. As you can see here on this picture, there is a track here where it's used to hang the curtain. The curtain is hung at the very end of the loading next to the doors as an additional protection. This track usually gets damaged at the moment of loading or unloading a unit. That's why we inspect it to make sure it's good. Also, that you can clearly see on the picture, maybe what we were not able to see very clearly before, is the famous red line, which indicates, again, you're not supposed to load above the red line. And as you can see, the red line also stops, leaves a gap between the moment it stops and the door, again, to indicate not to load before. So you'll have 2 indications there, the T-floor and as well as the line. This concludes our presentation when it comes to the CA. Before we go to the next subject, let's see the poll results. 73% answered correctly. It slows down the ripening process, absolutely. Now, the next technology that we want to talk about, or the next treatment that we offer, is the cold treatment. Cold treatment, there is only 2 slides on this in regards to the cold treatment, as it is a much simpler, but still extremely effective and very important way to manage perishable commodity. Cold treatment is a chemical-free way to eliminate fruit flies and other insects. What happens is very simple. Based on various protocols that are set from the receiving countries, the temperatures are lowered for a specific amount of time. The protocols are based on commodity and country of origin. What do we do to check that the cargo is kept at the right temperature? At the moment of loading, we install 3 USDA probes. These probes are literally installed and inserted within the meat of the fruit. They're installed and loaded in 3 different areas of the unit, one at the front, in the middle, and another one at the end. These 3 USDA probes are connected via a cable to the unit. The unit takes consistent and timely readings for the amount of the cold treatment. Once the time is over, we download the information from the unit. We share it with the local authorities. If the local authorities give us the green light that the cold treatment has passed, we share the great news with the customer, and then we have the opportunity to the customer has the opportunity to either keep the temperature at the same level or to increase the temperature to allow for the fruit to relax. Our CT failure rate is only 0.5%, so our efficiency is very, very good. In fact, as you can read from the last point here, we have a cost coverage system for any CT breakage due to container failure, including loss of value in the sale of the product, at the new destination. So we're very confident, and we've had a lot of success with the cold treatment. One more slide, sustainability. Of course, we cannot not talk about sustainability. This is a big subject in many different industries, including ours. I'm not going to touch too much on, I'm not going to navigate on too many different bases here. I'm going to strictly concentrate on reefer units. Our goal is to invest heavily in the latest, greenest technology. We're very proud to announce that today we're using the 2 best performing and most energy efficient units. Our goal is securing foods and prevent food waste. And last and not least, opening up opportunity to new markets for our exporters and importers. With that, I say thank you very much for listening to me. And if we still have time, I believe we do, for any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them.
Thank you, Pietro. So right now we are opening up for questions, as he said. Please feel free to submit your questions in the chat box, and we will get to them by the end of the session. So our first question is, do you monitor by people or via electronic data?
Both. This is actually a very good question. The industry requires, or the demand for the customers are to invest more and more and more in technology, as our shippers would like to have clear data of where the cargo is, at what stage in the supply chain it is. MSC was one of the starting companies to invest in an organization called TrackSense, which provides this type of technology. TrackSense provides it, or we at least are using it majority for dry boxes. In fact, we have already equipped more than 50,000 units with the TrackSense solution. When it comes to reefers, one main goal here is to obviously, again, have the idea where the unit is, at what stage of the supply chain, but at the same time, the requests are to remote reefer monitoring and control. This requires a lot of investments in hardware and software, which we have done. We have made these investments. We have had pilot projects that have been very successful. In fact, we are currently installing this technology on a variety of containers and vessels. Today, we have more than 40,000 reefer units already equipped with this technology and more than 140 vessels. So to answer your question, both. Eventually, the fleet is very big, so we need a little bit of more time, but eventually it will be electronic. And maybe even at the end, as much as technology is good, we will always put a bit of a human touch, just to be sure. You never know.
Thank you. So the next question is, with the growth of the fleet, how is MSC going to manage the reefer depots in the USA?
Well, as there is a shortage of reefers, one thing that we have to do, as I was saying before, is the communication with our customers are key. We need to get a clear understanding of what they need, where they need it, and when. We understand it's not easy, but forecast is a key factor here. We want to know exactly, we want to have the best possible information so that we can get ready. Forecast, we understand, as I was saying before, it's not simple to provide, especially when it comes to perishable commodity, as there are so many different factors that can have an effect on it, but at least it gives us an idea. When we know what is needed and where, we reposition the equipments accordingly. So.
Great. So this question was in reference to slide 16, which was the goods distribution inside the container. So they said, I interpret the slide to show cold air discharges from the bottom of the refrigeration unit, and over the road, trailers' cold air comes from the top. If my interpretation of the slide is correct, and since the cold air is denser, why does the ocean container cold air come from the bottom?
It's the cycle of the way the container is working. Usually hot air rises. So what happens is the unit takes the hot air from the top, sucks it in from the top, and then pushes it through from the bottom. This is also extremely important because, again, what we want to do is we want to push the air also through the commodity. As I was saying, perishable cargo needs to be ventilated because it releases all of these gases and heat, which needs to be removed in order to be kept at check. So when the air comes from the bottom, it's being pushed through, which makes it also, I guess, easier and more efficient.
Thank you. The next question is, does MSC provide 3PL services for reefer shippers?
Depending where, yes. In the United States, no. But in other countries, we can, as we have partners and we have opportunities. So this is something maybe that we can discuss offline. Whoever is interested can send me an email. I'll be more than happy to discuss and put you in touch with the right people if we do offer indeed, or we obviously have a lot of contacts with different providers with whom we have been doing business. We'll be more than happy to share those contacts.
Thank you. So the next question is, what is the typical time frame for a shipment to load, drop at a terminal, load on a ship, discharge at the final terminal, destination terminal, and be picked up by the customer?
Well, this all depends on the fluidity. Usually what we are trying to do is we are trying to keep these times extremely short. We want to have the reefer unit out of the terminal as late as possible and in as late or as close as possible to vessel departure. So we are obviously trying to do everything, again, as close as we possibly can, but we need to also make sure that it works with the customer's schedule. Again, here we are talking one more time about the forecast. If we know exactly what is being forecasted, we can certainly organize ourselves and create a chain of transportation. Once the cargo arrives at destination, again, our reefer experts, that's exactly what they're trying to do. We're going to contact the importers and try to expedite the release of the units, and again, get the empty box back on our possession ASAP. This is the goal, I think, for everybody, especially on perishable commodity, for the customers and on the market today, because of the shortage that we have, or that the market has, when it comes to this type of equipment.
Thank you. So our next question is, do you have live monitoring options available for shippers to check the cargo condition during the voyage, or at least to receive updates on the cargo condition during the voyage?
We are offering this service right now, it is offered, but as I was saying before, we have a new technology which we are currently installing. We currently have 40,000 units equipped with this technology and 140 vessels. It takes a while. We have a lot of ships and we have a lot of containers, so it will take a bit to be able to offer it publicly to everybody. However, we do offer the solution today. We are monitoring and we can give it to you, but it's not yet electronically.
All right, our next question is, you mentioned MSC can offer cold storage warehousing in some locations. Are these facilities owned and operated by MSC, or are they contracted facilities?
We have a daughter company called Medlog, and we are also operating a lot with different vendors. So I don't have the exact answer on that. If you don't mind reaching out to me, I'll be more than happy to provide you this type of information and give you the contacts and a more accurate response.
All right, thank you so much. So our next question is, do you have anything on the horizon for smart containers?
Yes, that was, as I was answering before, we have invested in the technology, in the hardware, in the software. The pilot project has ended. We are now in the process of equipping our refrigerated units and our vessels. We have currently 40,000 reefer units equipped with this technology and 140 vessels, but we have a lot more vessels and a lot more reefers that we need to equip in order to be able to offer the program more openly.
Thank you. This is our final question. Global demand for refrigerated cargo is expected to accelerate. How are you preparing for this?
We're preparing for it, as I was saying before, to talk and communicate closely with our customers. We need to have a clear idea of what's coming. The forecast is a key argument here. That's one thing that we do consistently. Another thing that we do, obviously, we're trying to have the equipment ready at the best possible times for our customers when it comes to export as well as import. We try to expedite all type of deliveries and make sure that we get the unit back as quickly as possible. On top of that, we are continuously investing and buying more equipment every day. One thing that we need to take into consideration when we're talking about assets like a refrigerated unit, it's not only what comes in, it's also what goes out. Every year there is a lot of units that become obsolete that need to be taken off the market and they need to be replaced with new ones. There was a slowdown in that in 2020 because of the manufacturing, but I can assure you MSC has already made a lot of investments and a lot of orders, and we will continuously receive more equipment. And as we receive them, we are privately owned, but I am sure we will make announcements to a certain extent or directly to our customers of what we are getting and the new reefer units that we are buying.
Great, thank you so much. That was very insightful, Pietro. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And again, thank you to MSC for their contribution. It was a very informative presentation with a lot of content and great visuals. The recording will be shared, so don't worry if you missed anything. We will share that very soon, but we do appreciate you joining us live and interacting with us in the chat. We hope you found this valuable. Thank you again and have a great day.